Welcome to another episode of Biz Takeouts, Biz Community Sound Bite-Sized News to Go, made possible by the IIE Rosebank College, an educational brand of the Independent Institute of Education, or the IIE, dedicated to providing a solid foundation, creating future thinkers to build successful careers. I'm your host, Angie White, and we'll once again be chatting to Lillian Bususu, the Graduate Placement Manager at the IIE Rosebank College. And today, Lillian will be talking us through the job preparation process when it comes to looking for a job. Welcome back, Lillian.
Thank you so much, Angie. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always great chatting to you, Lillian. So let's start right at the
Thank
beginning.
you.
What do job seekers need to know or do before they actually start the preparation process? And what goes into this preparation process?
Angie, looking for a job, like I always say, looking for a job is actually a full-time job on its own. And therefore, one needs to actually take it very seriously. Because this is about your life, this is about your future, this is about your destiny. And it's actually bringing into the full circle, all those years that you've attended primary school, right up to your tertiary education. So now you're coming into a point where you're saying everything that I've learned in the schooling system, I need now to bring it into fruition. So this is a process where it's very significant in your life, and it needs to be, prepared properly. And when I look at, just before COVID-19, the country and anywhere else in the world, there was already an economic downturn, and the onset of COVID-19 just made the situation worse when it comes to the job market. We saw a lot of companies closing. We saw a lot of retrenchments that were actually taking place. But nevertheless, when we look at the situation now, things are getting better. But so when it comes to the job hunting process, we need to be very intentional and very strategic about it, because companies now, they've got a bigger share to look from. They've got a bigger basket, because there's a lot of people, like I said, that have been retrenched. So why should they choose you? So when we look at the job market, it's still alive. They're still hiring people. So it's a conversation that you need to have with yourself in terms of how do I then strategically place myself in the job hunting process, so that I'll be that kind of person that companies will want to look at and will want to invite me for an interview. So I'm going to take a little bit of time in terms of how then do you prepare yourself. Like I said, you need to be very intentional. That's number one. You need to be strategic about it, because looking at all the negativity that is around us, and yet companies are still hiring. So why should you be the one that they're going to actually choose or to call for an interview? So the first thing that you need to do, you need to really update your CV, because that's the document that is going to go out. By the way, people don't know you. People are only getting to get to know you through your CV. So you update your CV, and when you're updating your CV, you need to put yourself in the shoes of the reader, the person that is actually going to read your CV. You need to put yourself in their shoes. Does your CV make sense? If it gets to the desk of somebody, is it making sense? Because that's the tool that you're having. It's your marketing tool, it's your selling tool. So you need to make it in such a way, or construct it in such a way, that whoever sees it will want to pick up that phone and to secure an interview for you. So you need to make sure that your spellings are checked out. And once you have completed your CV, you need to then take it to somebody who is an experienced professional in CV writing, so that it makes sense to them, and at least you know that you've actually done a good CV. So your CV needs to be in standing order. That's the first thing that you need to do. So craft it in such a way that it becomes strong. It will stand out, and whoever will look at it will want to pick up that phone and secure an interview for you. And then the second thing is clean up your social media platforms, because when people receive your CV, the next thing is they want to check, who is Lillian? So this is something sometimes we take for granted, but companies normally, when they see your CV and maybe they like you and they want to call you for an interview, interview, before they do that, some companies will do it before, but sometimes some companies will actually do it after. So you need to clean up your social media platforms, because any company that will be hiring, definitely these days of social media, they will definitely go to your social media platforms to see what kind of a person you are. What are you posting on these platforms? So before you start your job hunting process, clean up that social media wherever you're on, be it Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, because yes, you may say to yourself, but why would companies do that? Because this is my a private platform, but there's no private platform these days as long as you're on social media. So we can't be defensive about it, but we need to conform in making sure that we have actually cleaned up your social media. And then once you have done that, you then upload your CV on different job portals, and these job portals must be relevant to what you're actually looking for. By doing this, you're actually increasing your chances for potential employers to actually look at your CV and all that. So you need to actually complete that whole cycle by applying what we call excellency in all the stages that you are actually going to prepare your CV or prepare yourself in the job hunting process. And once you have done that, once you've prepared your CV, once you've cleaned up your social media platform, you then need to use your networks, because that's the first and foremost, the people that know us. So that means you need to have a good social standing with your networks, because it's the people that know us that will call us probably or for a job opportunity, because it may not be advertised, but we find that more and more positions are being filled without even being advertised. And this is the fact that we have no control over. So using your networks will allow you to get your foot in the door. You have relatives, you have friends, you have acquaintances in your networks. And once you have cleaned up all your CVs and you are ready to look for a job and you are ready for the job market, you go back to everybody that you know. That's preparation for being on the job market. Your social platforms, your church people, everyone, you need to really go back and you need to say to them, I'm now on the job market, please can you actually help me? And once you do that, you find that some people will get to know what is happening in their own organizations, and they will refer you to certain positions that will be available. So you need to prepare yourself before you're even called for an interview and all that. So we need to understand that these are some of the things that we need to prepare ourselves. And once you have put your CV out there, you have gone to your networks, now you need to prepare yourself even for the interview before it comes, because you don't want to prepare yourself once you have been called for an interview. Because these days what we see three different types of interviews. That is telephonically. So you need to understand your telephone, the messaging that you are putting at the end of the call. What is that kind of a message that you are leaving out? Are employers going to be impressed by your messaging? And it reminds me one time when we referred one graduate, and the message, the voice message that he had actually left, actually did not secure him any employment, because it was a rough message. So that's the first type of interview. So you need to prepare yourself. Do you have a good phone that when people phone you, they will be able to reach you? And is your message, the voice message that you leave, is it okay? And then the second one is actually online. You need to prepare yourself. What background are you going to use when somebody calls you to have online? Because you may find that your CV is attracting many employers, and they would want to secure an interview there and there. And these days we find more and more companies are actually doing online. How are you going to prepare yourself? Do you have that data? Do you have the good background so that when they interview online, you have that? And then also you need to prepare yourself beforehand, in terms of your face-to-face. Do you have the right clothes? Do you have the right money? Or especially, let's say you drive, do you have money to actually go for an interview? Do you have money for a taxi if you're going to be using public transport and all that? So these are some of the things that we need to really prepare ourselves beforehand, before you even start looking for a job, because all these facets of interview processes, we find more and more of young people being called for such interviews. But if you're not prepared for it, so this is something that you need to prepare yourself beforehand. So preparation beforehand makes you become confident in your job hunting process. So you don't want to be applying for jobs aimlessly. And this preparation is crucial for you to actually secure something that is relevant to what you are actually looking for. So those are some of the things that I'm just saying you need to actually prepare yourself when it comes to the job hunting process. And it's a process that we need to really take very seriously, because there is a big market of people that are looking for jobs. So why would they want to call you to come for an interview? So that preparation is very crucial. And the other thing I think that I will say in terms of preparation for a job hunting process is to remember to talk to your referees, because these are people that they are going to call. So you need to prep them beforehand. You need to prepare them to say, I'm now applying for jobs, so you may be called, and this is what you may even be able to give them your CV, so that they also have an understanding of what your CV is all about, so that they are in line with what you are looking for. So in a nutshell, Angie, and I took a bit long on this because preparation is key for you to secure an interview, key for you, for people to look at, potential employers to look at you, so that they can actually secure an interview for you.
100%, Lillian. And I love that you gave some real practical examples of how to prepare. I think that that is so useful for people that are looking for a job. And then just touching on that whole process, where's a good place to start? Like real examples of what platforms to actually start looking on.
There's many platforms that one needs to look at, especially like I mentioned before. Your first port of call if you are looking for a job is your networks. That's where you start. It's your networks, and it's people that you know, people that you're networking with. And I must say at this point, this is why it's so important for every one of us to keep a good social standing with our networks. How you do your work, how you interact with others, on the, be it at, in your sphere of influence. You need to understand that this is the first port of call that you need to, job seekers need to look at when you are looking for a job. And then obviously you need to go onto the different job portals that are there, and you need to identify them. What are the different job portals that are there? And they must be relevant to your career aspirations, because I think sometimes you find that with young people, they're just putting their CVs everywhere, whether it's in line with what they have, the qualifications or experience. They are just posting their CVs out there. And sometimes you do understand that, they are frustrated. So they will think, anything, wherever I put my CV, somebody is bound to pick up my CV, but it's not going to be like that. So you need to really put your CV or upload your CV on the relevant job portals that are there. And also we see a lot of people that are actually using, like your Facebook, Instagram, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, and Google as such. You can actually post your CV there. You can upload your CV on those platforms that will allow you to. So when it comes to the job hunting process, when it comes to your CV, this is your first port of calls, that where you can actually look for job opportunities. And sometimes you can use even journals that are relevant to your qualification or your experience. You can use newspapers. You can use those platforms where they will actually ask for your specific or relevant qualification or experience. So that's where you can actually post your CV.
Great. And that actually touches on my next question, which is how do job seekers look for and apply for the jobs that are most suited for them? What advice do you have? How do they identify those jobs?
Okay. Angie, it's quite interesting, because young people sometimes, to a certain degree, you find that they are despondent because they've been sending their CVs and nobody is coming to them. And like I said before, you find that they are just applying for jobs willy-nilly. And unfortunately, when you do that, nobody will come back to you because what you are applying for is not in line with your qualifications or your experience. So you become more despondent. So just applying for jobs willy-nilly will not get you anywhere, especially if you don't qualify for it. So what young people need to remember is that many companies will never respond to you if you're just sending your CV anyway. And in fact, they can actually just see that you're just trying your luck, so they will not come to you. So one of what I would want to say is that please do not apply aimlessly for the jobs. The more, because it will get you frustrated because you won't receive any responses. So what I want to say is that when you see a job, obviously that suits you, please thoroughly go through all the aspects of that job, the requirements of that job before you even respond. Because your chances of responding to something that is in line with your profile, the chances of them responding to you are quite high. So it's not about uh, do you think you can do the job? It's all about can you do the job, not do you think you can actually do the job. So the job should be in line with your qualifications and obviously your experience. And also, does the job match your skills? Does it match your personality? Does it match your aspirations? Because I think it's important to work in a job that you would love to do, because this greatly increases your chances of that long-term career success and also satisfaction. So it's important to make the right decision from the very onset when you're looking for when you look at that job. Does it match my skills? Does it match my experience? Does it match my personality and my aspirations? And also, it's very important to actually look at the company profile. Do your research about that company, the company and the culture itself. Make sure you do your research about that company. And these days, Angie, we are finding more and more companies that are not authentic. So doing your research will make you understand if that company is actually an authentic company. What are their values? Are they in line with who I am? And is this a company that I also want to work for? And the other thing that we need to look at is the salary and the conditions as well. Because like I said, with these dubious companies that are there, you find that sometimes young people, they don't even sign a contract, but they are told we're going to pay you at the end of the month. And then the salary is not even written in their adverts. So all they say is, we'll talk when you come. So you need to look at the salary. Is it there? And you find that young people at the end of working maybe 3 months, they are told, well, you didn't meet up with our standards, so there's no salary. So it's one thing that you need to look at, the salary and the conditions of that position. Does it provide fair compensation for your skills and your experience? So we need to be very careful when we are looking at any job opportunity. Is there a salary that is there? What are the conditions? And the other thing as well that you need to look at is your career progression. Is there room for your career progression in that position? Because sometimes you may find that you go into that job and you're stuck. There's nothing that is happening. So you can actually do this obviously by asking the employer to provide you with their training programs, and if there's any development program, so that when you start that job, there's prospects for actually your development, there's prospects for your promotion. So those are some of the things that I would say to young people who are job seeking, that those are some of the things that you need to identify a good position, identify a good prospect. You need to look at all those things, because in the end, they will actually serve you well.
Definitely, Lillian. And then considering all of those practical tips that you just gave us, what are your top tips that could potentially place candidates above the rest?
Okay, in everything that we do, AG, we want to be the top. But sometimes it's the way we do it that we think you're at the top of everything. So, like I said, job hunting is a 24-hour process on its own. On its own, you must make sure that you bring your A game, because this is a process which is long, and you need to have a thorough understanding of that job hunting process, so that you make sure that on each aspect you actually bring in your A game, be it CV writing, be it going for an interview, which we'll discuss later, in these talks. How do you construct a good CV? So you need to have that thorough understanding that the job hunting process, there's no room for second best, because the market is saturated with many people that are looking for jobs. So you need to be that person that is seen. So the first thing that you need to understand is you need to know your career goals. By knowing your career goals, it gives you confidence to then apply for the jobs that are related to your skills, related to your qualifications and experience. And you need to plan ahead as well, in terms of what you want to do. When you plan ahead, you know exactly what you are going to do. You need to even set a target daily that today, this is what I am doing. I'm just looking at websites. I'm just going into job portals. I'm doing this and that. So we need to plan ahead and to make sure that whatever we've actually planned, we implement. And then you look at your CV and your cover letter. If you want to be ahead of the pack, your CV and your cover letter, remember, this is a process, or a CV is a selling tool that will keep you ahead of the rest in terms of how it's constructed. So you must customize your CV for each application that you make. You need to make sure that it's professionally constructed. You need to make sure that you've included all the relevant stuff that make you stand out, like your achievements. Don't leave out any achievement on your CV, because once you leave it out, you are not really giving, the employer that open space where they can actually see your leadership skills or the things that you have actually led in. And your CV as well, because this is a tool that you make you get called for an interview, or that will secure an interview for you. So check your spellings, because spelling mistakes, employers would not want to see spelling mistakes. The font that you're going to use on your CV, the paragraphs, is everything aligned? Is everything in line? And hence I said your CV must actually be attractive to a potential employer, because this is what sells you. Nobody knows you, so they will know you through giving them a glimpse of who you are through paper. So I don't know you, so I get to know you through paper. So your CV, that's the first thing that you, if you want to stand out, your CV must really stand out, so that people are able to actually call you. And then the other thing, use all the job searches available. Anything that is available, especially that is relevant to your qualification, your experience, your skills, you need to actually use all those job searches. And I want to say, do not deviate from any instructions on your application, because this is a process that employers, potential employers, that's what they use to eliminate people that they don't need. So this is a way that employers will use. For instance, if they will say use reference ABCD, and you do not use that reference, the minute you make that application without that reference, you've already deviated from the instructions that employers are giving you, and already you have eliminated yourself from that whole process of being called for an interview. So do not deviate from any instructions that you have actually been given. And also, it's important for to make research. Do your research everywhere. Do your research. Like, I think people who know me, they know me by saying, master the rules of the game. You need to understand what is going on around us, in us, everywhere where we are. So doing your research will make you keep up with the trends of the job hunting process, of what is going on as far as the job hunting process is concerned. So do your research if you really want to keep up to date with what the current events of the job hunting process. So in a nutshell, those are some of the things that I will say when it comes to, for you to actually be seen out there, as far as the job hunting process is concerned.
Wow, thank you, Lillian. Once again, very practical examples and explanations that I think our listeners and our audience could really benefit from. And then just on that, with the whole process being quite time consuming, as you've mentioned, it can become disheartening if you've sent out your CV and you've done everything right and you're still doing, it's
Yeah.
still part of this process. What advice do you have, or what what tips can you give to candidates to help them remain hopeful when they are going through this whole process?
Mm. And yeah, it's very, I mean, the times that we are living in now, it's not just people that are looking for jobs, but everybody in one way or the other. We are living in times where many people are despondent. But and job hunting is one of the processes that can make you really become so despondent in such a way that sometimes you want to give up. But I want to say to anybody who is actually looking for a job that this is not time to give up. It's time to wake up every morning and you fight for what you rightfully deserve. And like in my mantra, I say, master the rules of the game. You need to understand this is the time that we are living in, all of us. So you need to raise your personal standards in everything that you do, including the job hunting process. You need to raise your personal standards. And by raising your personal standards, it's all about your CV writing. Even if you're called for an interview, how have you prepared for it? And you play to win. You know, there's no room to play to lose. We have to play to win if we are going to stay afloat, because the world is no longer looking for second best. They are looking for the best in everything that we do, including the job hunting process. So whatever you do, do it exceptionally and do it with excellence. Make yourself stand out. And as long as you wake up alive, Angie, it's not time to give up. But it's an opportunity to fight for your destiny. It's an opportunity to say, I am alive and I'm going to fight for what is rightfully mine. Yes, it's not going to be easy, but being resilient in everything that we're going to do, and you keep knocking on those doors of opportunity. One day, someone is going to open a door for you, but you need to be intentional. You need to be strategic in everything that you're going to do, but never, never give up. Because as long as you wake up alive, we have an opportunity for a second chance. And that's, I think, how I can advise job seeking people to remain hopeful, that we need to remain, steadfast. We have to be resilient. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep knocking on doors of opportunity. And definitely something will open for us.
I love that, Lillian, definitely. So perseverance, resilience, do everything with excellence and
Yes.
never give up. I love that. Right, so that
Yeah.
brings us to the end of another show, Lillian. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, a huge thanks to the IIE Rosebank College for making it possible. That's Biz Takeouts. Take it where you like it, when you like it. See you soon.